Here are the top stories for today, March 10, 2020. President Duterte said there will be no lockdown in Metro Manila unless COVID-19 cases reach thousands. Malacanang may consider a work-from-home arrangement to prevent the spread of COVID-19. President Duterte wants maximum penalty for the suspects involved in the killing of a Filipino worker. And the chief of the World Health Organization says the threat of COVID-19 pandemic is very real. Good day, I'm William Theo. Welcome to the PNA Newsroom. President Rodrigo Duterte on Monday said it is too early to consider placing Metro Manila on a lockdown unless the country reaches sustained community transmission of the coronavirus disease 2019. Duterte made this remark after Albay Representative Joey Salceda suggested a one-week suspension of all work and classes in Metro Manila after new cases of COVID-19 were recorded in Quezon City, Pasig, and Marikina. Duterte warned that placing Metro Manila on a lockdown would make it difficult to transport basic goods and necessities such as rice and gasoline. He said the need to lock down Metro Manila may arise once the number of confirmed cases would reach thousands. However, the president was hoping there would be no further increase in the number of confirmed COVID-19 cases. In a Laging Handa press briefing, Health Secretary Francisco Duque III said placing a lockdown might be premature until there is evidence of sustained community transmission. He said that the DOH respected local chief executive's decision to suspend classes to minimize the transmission of the disease. Malacanang may consider a work-from-home arrangement for some government workers following the local transmission of the coronavirus disease 2019. Earlier, Deputy Speaker and Camarines Sur 2nd District Representative Luis Raymond Villafuerte urged the Employers Confederation of the Philippines, or ECOP, and other company heads to do their share in helping break the chain of local coronavirus transmission by considering telecommuting if and when possible for their workers. The work-from-home arrangement is encouraged to minimize the chances of contracting the disease. Presidential spokesperson Salvador Panelo said everything is possible as long as it would be successful in preventing the spread of the highly contagious disease. President Duterte will not heed the no-touch policy recommended by the Presidential Security Group to minimize his exposure to the coronavirus disease 2019. In a press briefing in Malacanang late Monday night, Duterte said he found the protocol foolish since he still prefers to shake hands with persons he would run into in public engagements. He said he was ready to go anytime because he has already achieved holding the highest position in the country. Before the start of the meeting with members of Interagency Task Force for the Management of Infectious Diseases on the same day, Duterte was spotted shaking hands with some cabinet officials despite the PSG's no-touch policy. He also bussed Tourism Secretary Bernadette Romulo Puyat on the cheek. Despite the PSG's decision to assess or even cancel some of his public engagements, Duterte said he would disregard this because showing up was part of his job. The Department of National Defense and all of its attached bureaus are ready to help in ongoing efforts to contain the spread of coronavirus disease in the country. Defense Secretary Delfin Lorenzana said the Interagency Task Force on Emerging Infectious Diseases is the one orchestrating everything related to COVID-19. The AFP and the NDRRMC expressed their readiness to help if needed. The Philippine Army is also ready to respond with its medical facilities and personnel if called to assist health authorities in containing COVID-19. Meanwhile, the DILG has directed all Metro Manila mayors and their respective barangay chairpersons, as well as the Philippine National Police, to keep all students away from malls, movie houses, public markets, and other crowded places to stop and contain the spread of COVID-19 in the communities. DILG Secretary Eduardo Año requested the cooperation of all parents to discipline and closely supervise their children and ensure that they stay home and do their homework. United Nations Special Rapporteur on Environment David Boyd recognized the Philippine government's robust policies on safe, clean, healthy, and sustainable environment. Boyd cited the Philippines as among the countries where this right is fully incorporated into national legislation, such as the Clean Air Act that provides a comprehensive air quality management policy and program. He acknowledged the Philippines has one of the few states that institute a rights-based, gender-sensitive approach to climate action, and one of the even fewer states that specifically mainstream the promotion and protection of the rights of indigenous peoples in their national climate strategy. Meanwhile, Ambassador Evan P. Garcia said Philippine landmark jurisprudence on environmental cases set positive examples worldwide of government leadership, such as the introduction of writ of kalikasan or writ of nature. It is a special civil action and judicial remedy granted to petitioners of environmental cases. Other measures in place in the country include waived filing fees to make environmental litigation accessible, issuance of environmental protection orders, and the application of the precautionary principle, among others. Measures are in place to contain the spread of coronavirus 2019 disease in the country. Janice Cabe has the story.
The Department of Education has suspended classes in all levels in public and private schools in the National Capital Region from March 10 to 14 amid the continuing threat of COVID-19. This after President Rodrigo Duterte approved the recommendation of the Interagency Task Force for Emerging Infectious Diseases for class suspension at all levels. Education Secretary Leonor Briones said the suspension of classes would be an effective measure against the spread of COVID-19 only if students, parents, and local governments do their part in ensuring that students stay at home and avoid places like malls, movie houses, markets, and similar crowded places. DepEd directed its regional division and school officials to facilitate the communication of teachers with the students and their parents. It also instructed the teachers to provide assignments to ensure continued learning of the required competencies. Meanwhile, Bataan Bishop Ruperto Santos said the cancellation of masses amid the coronavirus disease threat is up to the decision of the bishop. He said the CBCP can only recommend, but the final decision is up to the bishops. As for his diocese, Santos said masses and traditional activities for the Lenten season will push through as scheduled, and the faithful should just instead follow precautionary measures against the disease. In other news, the Commission on Elections canceled its voter registration for the rest of the month due to the threat of COVID-19. The suspension of the nationwide voter registration is effective starting Tuesday, March 10, until the end of the month. The nationwide voter registration in the country started last January 20 and will run until September 30, 2021. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Janice Cave.
Still to come, President Duterte urged Congress to pass laws regulating online gambling in the country. And the Commission on Human Rights says the New People's Army violated the law. More on these when the PNA Newsroom continues.
Kasalukuyan natin kinaharap ang COVID-19. Ngunit tulad ng SARS, 17 taon nang nakalilipas, atin ring itong lalabanan.
Bawat isa ay malaki ang maitutulong sa pamamagitan ng regular na paghuhugas ng kamay, tamang paraan ng pag-ubo, pagpapanatili ng 1 metrong distansya sa mga may sintomas, at pagsusuot ng face mask kung ikaw ay may sakit.
Todo laban kontra COVID-19.
Tamang paraan ng paghuhugas ng kamay. Ang wasto at regular na paghuhugas ng kamay ay mabisang paraan upang makaiwas sa mga sakit. Ito ay makatutulong sa pagpigil ng pagkalat ng virus na nagdudulot ng sakit. Una, basain ng tubig ang mga kamay at sabunin. Ikalawa, sabunin ang mga palad. Ikatlo, sabunin ang likod ng mga kamay. Sumunod, kuskusin ang mga pagitan ng daliri. Ikalima, kuskusin ang mga kuko. Ika-6, kuskusin ang pagitan ng mga hinlalaki. Pagkatapos, kuskusin ng paikot ang mga dulo ng mga daliri sa magkabilang palad. At panghuli, banlawang mabuti sa malinis na tubig at patuyuin ang mga kamay gamit ang single-use towel o air dryer. Todo laban kontra 2019 novel coronavirus acute respiratory disease.
An update on the status of pogos in the country. President Duterte urged Congress to pass laws further regulating online gambling in the country. In a press conference in Malacanang on Monday night, Duterte said he wants to legalize pogos and that he is not inclined to suspend its operations because of the billions worth of revenue that can be collected from them. Earlier, PAGCOR reported that the government was able to collect roughly 7 billion pesos from fees and licenses from the offshore gaming companies. He said POGO revenues could help fund government response in addressing the new coronavirus disease amid the rise in the number of confirmed cases. Duterte shrugged off reports on the existence of an alleged money laundering scheme involving millions of dollars of cash, saying he received documents from banks proving that these money laundering allegations were false. He also denied accusations that he allowed POGO businessmen to visit him in Malacanang. There are around 60 licensed POGOs still operating in the country. And in other news, DND Secretary Delfin Lorenzana dismissed reports claiming that rehabilitation works in the Pag-asa Island were delayed by the constant presence of Chinese ships in the area. Lorenzana said the delay was caused by a problem encountered during the initial stage of the rehabilitation, as contractors found out that seabed where the beach ramp is to be constructed is hard. This prompts the contractor to bring in appropriate drilling equipment, which is shipped from Puerto Princesa in Palawan. He said the seas in the Spratlys are usually rough, that the contractor's barges can only transport materials within a small window of time. Rehabilitation works at the island started sometime in 2018. After those months, Lorenzana said everything is dependent on the weather and repairs could be made in the Pag-asa runway until the bleaching ramp is built. In our business news, the Philippine government is keeping its plan to issue foreign currency bonds this year, but timing depends on developments on the coronavirus disease 2019. National Treasurer Rosalia De Leon said they continue to monitor the situation, citing that about $1 to $1.5 billion is programmed to be sourced from US dollar-denominated paper and about $1 billion worth of the yen-denominated samurai bonds. De Leon said the plan to issue renminbi-dominated panda bond, originally for March this year, is also on hold due to COVID-19, as well as the direction of terms and interest rates. Despite the delay in the implementation of this year's foreign currency-denominated bond issuances, De Leon discounted negative impact on government financing, saying, "We have sufficient liquidity to be able to meet our budget requirements for the second quarter this year." The Commission on Human Rights in Negros Oriental concluded that the New People's Army violated human rights laws with regards to weapons used in warfare. CHR Negros Oriental Chief and Special Investigator Dr. Jess Cañete on Monday said that a motu proprio investigation that his office conducted from March 5 to 6 showed that suspected NPA rebels indeed used IEDs during an ambush on Philippine Army soldiers in Gihungan City last March 3. In that incident, a KM-450 truck carrying troops of the 94th Infantry Battalion, was traversing the national highway along the vicinity of Barangay Luz in Gihungan City at around 10:40 a.m. when an explosion occurred. 4 soldiers, including their platoon leader, 2nd Lieutenant Niel Christian Cureg, were wounded by what later appeared to be a detonated IED. They were rushed to a hospital and are now in stable condition. A firefight ensued after the blast, and after about 10 minutes, the suspected NPA rebels withdrew towards Barangay Banog-Banog in Isabela town of Negros Occidental. Cañete expressed concern over the use of IEDs as there could be civilians traversing that road. He said the use of IEDs is a violation of the Comprehensive Agreement on Human Rights and international humanitarian law. The Swiss Foundation for Mine Action, or FSD, rolled out awareness and education campaign on unexploded ordnances and improvised explosive device in Marawi City. Christine Lynn Viajante filed this report.
The Swiss Foundation for Mine Action, or FSD, a non-governmental organization involved in mine action, rolled out awareness and education campaign on unexploded ordnances, or UXOs, and improvised explosive device, or IEDs, in the most affected area at Marawi City.
Ito talaga ng aming agency, which is to save life, para malayo yung ating mga IDPs sa mga disgrasya dulot ng mga unexploded ordnance.
Educators were trained on risk reduction on UXOs and IEDs for 15 days. Now they serve as volunteers to efficiently conduct information campaign for children as the main audience.
Nag-focus kami doon sa sinasabi namin na kapag may nakita, huwag siyang lapitan, huwag hawakan, mag-report.
Furthermore, learners were thankful for the campaign and are going to share what they've learned to their families.
Thank you po sa binigay niyong lecture ngayon. Kahit simpleng oras lang po is marami na akong natutunan.
FSD, together with volunteers from the Department of Education Marawi City Division, has conducted a series of information campaigns in evacuation centers and schools since 2017. The risk education campaign continued as Task Force Bangon Marawi, or TFBM, resumed Cambisita for the 3rd time to allow other homeowners to visit their properties. For PNA Newsroom, Christine Lynn Viajante of PIA Iligan City Information Center.
Up next, President Duterte wants maximum penalty for the suspects involved in the killing of a Filipina worker. And the chief of the World Health Organization says the threat of COVID-19 pandemic is very real. The PNA Newsroom returns after these reminders.
Kasalukuyan natin kinaharap ang COVID-19. Ngunit tulad ng SARS, 17 taon nang nakalilipas, atin ring itong lalabanan.
Bawat isa ay malaki ang maitutulong sa pamamagitan ng regular na paghuhugas ng kamay, tamang paraan ng pag-ubo, pagpapanatili ng 1 metrong distansya sa mga may sintomas, at pagsusuot ng face mask kung ikaw ay may sakit.
Todo laban kontra COVID-19.
Tamang paraan ng paghuhugas ng kamay. Ang wasto at regular na paghuhugas ng kamay ay mabisang paraan upang makaiwas sa mga sakit. Ito ay makatutulong sa pagpigil ng pagkalat ng virus na nagdudulot ng sakit. Una, basain ng tubig ang mga kamay at sabunin. Ikalawa, sabunin ang mga palad. Ikatlo, sabunin ang likod ng mga kamay. Sumunod, kuskusin ang mga pagitan ng daliri. Ikalima, kuskusin ang mga kuko. Ika-6, kuskusin ang pagitan ng mga hinlalaki. Pagkatapos, kuskusin ng paikot ang mga dulo ng mga daliri sa magkabilang palad. At panghuli, banlawang mabuti sa malinis na tubig at patuyuin ang mga kamay gamit ang single-use towel o air dryer. Todo laban kontra 2019 novel coronavirus acute respiratory disease.
President Duterte on Monday night renewed his vow to visit Kuwait and seek the maximum penalty for the suspects involved in the killing of a Filipino worker. Duterte did not bear any name but could have been referring to domestic worker Jenaline Villavende, who was killed by her employer last December. He described the murder charges filed against her employers as good justice. He emphasized that he would want the Kuwaiti government to put the perpetrators to death for their crime. Villavende's murder prompted the government to impose a temporary ban on the deployment of overseas Filipino workers to the Gulf state last January. The ban was lifted with a filing of charges against the suspect last month. The Philippines and Kuwaiti governments have also agreed on a template of a harmonized employment contract for Filipino domestic workers in the Gulf state. Last January, Senator Christopher Bongo said no changes in Duterte's plans to visit Kuwait have been made so far. Go said Duterte plans to visit Kuwait sometime in March or April. The novel coronavirus has got a foothold in so many countries, and the threat of a pandemic has become very real. Benj Bondoc has the story.
WHO Director General Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus said COVID-19 is an uneven epidemic at the global level and that different countries has a different scenario which requires a tailored response. Cyprus confirmed its first 2 COVID-19 cases, which means all EU member countries have reported infection cases. In Italy, authorities said the number of people who tested positive for the novel coronavirus reached 7,985, an increase of 1,598 new infections compared to the previous day and did not include recoveries or fatalities. In Germany, the first 2 deaths from COVID-19 were recorded both in the western state of North Rhine-Westphalia. In France, 1,412 cases of coronavirus infection have been confirmed and 25 patients have died. In Spain, the number of confirmed cases rose from just under 600 on Sunday to over 1,000, with a death toll increasing from 10 to 26. Madrid schools and universities will be closed for 14 days starting Wednesday. Denmark saw its total number of COVID-19 infections rise to 90 by Monday afternoon, a sharp increase from Sunday's 35. In Poland, medical controls have been introduced on the borders with Germany and the Czech Republic. In Croatia, the National Civil Protection Authority introduced new protection measures, requiring all foreign nationals from the outbreak's hotspots to stay in mandatory 14-day quarantine upon arrival. In the Czech Republic, the National Security Council decided to ban visits to inpatient hospital wards, which will take effect on Tuesday. In Slovenia, Health Minister Aleš Sabeder announced that the checking of passengers arriving at Ljubljana Jose Putnik Airport is expected to be introduced in a few days. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Benj Bondo.
As the world is struggling to contain the coronavirus spreading rapidly, it also hit many sports events across the globe. Some of the international sports events were canceled or rescheduled, while some were announced to be held behind closed doors. In Italy, all sporting events can only be held without fans attending until April 3. 10 football games in the Series A2 Italian Cup matches were already delayed. The Swiss Football League matches were cancelled until March 23. Spain's Valencia Basket faced Italy's Ax Armani Exchange Milan in a EuroLeague game close to fans last week amid fears of coronavirus. The FIBA 3x3 Olympic qualification tournament, which was set for March in Bengaluru, India, was also postponed. The FIBA 3x3 Asia Cup in 2020 in Changsha, China, from May 13 to 17, 2020, has been rescheduled to September 9 to 13, 2020. Athletics Barcelona Marathon was called off to October 25 from March 15, while the Paris Marathon, which was due to start on March 15, was rescheduled for October 18. The Thailand Grand Prix and the Qatar Grand Prix were rescheduled for October 3 and 4. Formula One, the 2020 Chinese Grand Prix, scheduled for April 19, was postponed to an unknown future date. The prestigious Indian Wells tennis tournament known as the BNP Paribas Open was delayed amid the rising coronavirus threat in Southern California, United States. Internally displaced persons in Marawi City received livelihood starter kits from the Department of Trade and Industry. Christine Lynn Viajante has the story.
A swarm of internally displaced persons all lined up for their turn to claim the livelihood starter kits handed over by the Department of Trade and Industry here in the old NFA warehouse at Luxadato, Marawi City. The department will give out a total of 11,796 sari-sari store starter kits and 9,000 more school supply starter kits as an addition to the previously distributed variety store livelihood kits given last year. Asral Mustafa, a beneficiary, expresses her gratitude and thanked DTI for the aid they've received. She urged her fellow IDPs to make good use of the kits that the government has given them.
Nagpapasalamat kami kahit paano makakatulong sa amin tong binigay nila na kabuhayan. Sa nakatanggap ng groceries, huwag naman sana nilang ibenta kasi pinagpaguran din pong ibigay yun sa amin ng gobyerno. Tapos ibibenta lang sana, palakihin na lang kasi pagtulong din naman sa kanila.
Task Force Bangon Marawi Project Manager of DTI, Dr. Rosalinda Pineda, sternly warned the beneficiaries not to sell the kits they received. She elaborated that DTI have consultants who will see over how far the IDPs would take these livelihood kits through their impact monitoring program. Moreover, she announced that they will be giving assistance to renter IDPs starting this week.
And this week, we are going to start with our renters. Mga 3,000 plus po sila. Makakatanggap talaga po. Pero inaayos lang po namin yung listahan.
Committed to alleviate the lives of conflict-affected families, DTI makes sure that no family is left unsupported by the government. For PNA Newsroom, Christine Lynn Viajante of PIA Iligan City Information Center.
Let's take another look at today's biggest stories. President Duterte said there will be no lockdown in Metro Manila unless COVID-19 cases reach thousands. Malacanang may consider a work-from-home arrangement to prevent the spread of COVID-19. President Duterte wants maximum penalty for the suspects involved in the killing of a Filipino worker. And the chief of the World Health Organization says the threat of COVID-19 pandemic is very real. Thank you for watching another episode of the PNA Newsroom. To check out more news content, check our webpage or head on to the Philippine News Agency's Facebook and Twitter accounts. For more stories about the government and how it serves Filipinos, look for these hashtags in all of our social media platforms and websites. We are shown on the pages of the PCOO and its attached agencies. Also, watch us on television on PTV4 and IBC 13. And that's your daily dose of the biggest stories that you need to know. From the PNA Newsroom, I am William Theo. Good day.